Rise of the Ronin has been unfairly compared to Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed recently, which are games funded by two of the biggest publishers on the planet, and it's unrealistic for Koei Tecmo to throw that kind of money at a game. The only fair comparison here is that all three are historical open-world games with a focus on melee combat, but if we disregard the combat, the open world is much more similar to Ubisoft's other premier open-world franchise, Far Cry. Far Cry differentiates itself from other open-world games by having the district system, which, for as many people complain about these games feeling samey, it's still a feature essentially unique to Far Cry. Dividing the open world into individual districts to liberate by completing any objective within them is fantastic open world design, because it means the player is able to move the story forward doing whatever missions they want to, instead of being scripted down a linear path. Rise of the Ronin takes the idea a step further by combining this system with factions, meaning you can change the whole map to either belong to the pro or anti-shogunate factions. Again, this adds player choice, and it's a great idea for open worlds. It also ties nicely into the themes of Rise of the Ronin's story about oppression and radical ideals. By helping the people of each district, they're more sympathetic to whichever faction you're a part of, because they think that faction is full of good people like you. But I know what you're thinking, well, that still doesn't sell me on this game. Far Cry open worlds suck. They're still dull checklists, so why is this any better? Well, first off, no, Far Cry doesn't suck. What sucks about Far Cry and Assassin's Creed is their combat. I don't think people hate checklist open world games. I think they hate checklist games with boring combat. My example for this is Ghost of Tsushima, which for all intents and purposes is a checklist open world game that saves every single icon you come across for you to go back to and leaves your map screen looking like a fridge magnet display. But why do we celebrate Ghost of Tsushima and not Assassin's Creed? Ghost of Tsushima has what might be the best combat of any open world game ever, as long as we discount linear open world games like Kingdom Hearts and God of War. It didn't matter why we were clearing out a basic enemy camp in Tsushima, because the act of doing so was incredibly fun, with the methodical parrying and clashing of steel katanas. Compare this to the simplistic dodge and hit gameplay of Assassin's Creed, or the see and shoot enemies of Far Cry, and the games devolve into checklists because the act of filling them out isn't fun. So, getting back to Rise of the Ronin, the question of if the open world sucks depends on its combat. So how is the combat in Rise of the Ronin? It's easily the game's most robust feature. It's so intense and violent, and the kinetic feedback of furiously slashing and parrying your enemies feels glorious. It has so much more of an over-the-top vibe than Tsushima, which makes it stand out all the more. The gameplay of Rise of the Ronin is so intoxicating that the open world becomes an addictive area that you want to explore, especially given the game's terrible core narrative. It's much more thrilling to fight a random tough fugitive instead of some random samurai that I don't know or care about. You also don't have your annoying helpers in the open world combat, and it makes the combat feel much more intense with no safety net beneath you. Rise of the Ronin is by no means a premier open world game, but I don't care for the double standard of calling this game visually disgusting because of the number of icons on its map, when we laud praise for games like Ghost of Tsushima and Witcher 3, which are equally guilty of these trends. If you enjoyed this video, then check out this essay on whether Ghost of Tsushima should let you have choices, and I'll see you in 2 days.